This afternoon's class, we're just going to start standing. I've got my block. I'm going to put that sort of more towards the front of the mat, and going to do the shaking thing. So shaking out the legs, shaking out the arms, shoulders. You can shake out the head as well if that feels good. Some people enjoy that, some people don't. It's called a Kriya, and it's a blood cleansing and energy cleansing routine that we can use. So because we've only got a 45-minute class, I'm just going to take a couple of minutes. But you could do it for 5 or 6 or 7. In fact, the first time I ever did it, I think they did 7 or 8 minutes. And when they finished, I was, I couldn't work out where my legs were, to be quite honest. Everything was buzzing. So a little shake, a little bend in the knees. You can wiggle from side to side. Doesn't have to be regular. It can be all over the place. And it's just getting the joints and muscles to get a little blood pumping through them as well. Challenging the balance a little bit. And it kind of gets you to focus on where you are on your mats. In a couple of minutes, feels like quite a long time. And then we'll let that slow down. And just take a couple of minutes, feeling that kind of buzzy feeling through the body. And I'm going to bring the feet together. It's going to work on the arm flow. So one of the things that happens when we bring our arms above the head is we kind of tilt the chest up towards the sky, the ribs follow, a little bit of concave happening in the lower back, the pelvis tilts up towards the sky, let's move forwards. And we're going to let that happen. We're just going to bring the hands simply above the shoulders and let them lower down as we exhale. Inhaling up. And exhaling down. We'll take one more of those. And we're going to increase that by taking the hands palms together. But this time we're going to draw the ribs down towards the hips and the hips up a little bit. So the pelvis comes forwards just a touch and the body stays more in alignment. There's an abdominal crunch or activation taking place, sending the tailbone down towards the floor as well. We're taking the breath in on the way up. If you breathe the opposite way around, which is an option, it's a little bit easier to keep the ribs under control. Sometimes when you're learning, it's a nice way to switch it up or switch it down, whichever way you think of switching. So the last lift. And then we're going to take some good old-fashioned side bends. So I'm going to take the feet apart again about the outer edge hip distance. Taking the right arm up towards the sky, I'm going to walk slowly the left fingers down the leg. So we get as far as I can, and I'm going to reach out through that right hand over to the side. Again, trying to keep the ribs under control. And then on the inhale, let the fingers walk back up the leg and bring the hand down. Inhale up, the left arm. Walk that over. Nice stretch out through the fingertips. Walking back up slowly. And bringing the hands down. Let the hands come in towards the heart. Inhale. And take the hands up towards the sky. Interlace the fingers, index finger points up. Now let the eyes look in towards the bottom of the hands, taking that into a little back bend. And try and lengthen the shoulders away. Keep the belly drawn in. Release the hands. Bring yourself back upright. Let the hands shake out a little bit as you come back up towards the front of the mat. So you have the feet slightly smaller, most sort of sitting bone distance apart. Hands in towards the heart. And exhale into a forward fold. Keep the spine nice and long. Knees down to the ground. Fold it in. Bring hands onto the shins. Halfway up. So extend chest forwards, tailbone back. Fold in. And there. Hands onto the hips. And we lift up. Bring the hands back in towards the heart. Exhale down again, taking the weight into the toes, a little softness in the knees. Hands to the floor. I'm going to step it back into down dog. First one of the session, so I'm going to allow myself to just walk that out a little bit. Got grasses on the mat somehow. And just walking the legs out gently, allowing yourself to position hands flat to the floor. You can play around with the hand position a little bit. You can soften the knees and allow the chest to sink a little more, keeping the tailbone high. So you get a little flatter through the spine. Compress the heels towards the back of the mat. Lifting the hips up and back as well. And then we'll let ourselves float forwards gently into a plank and bring the knees back down underneath the hips. Let them come into the ground nice and softly. Bootlaces down for cat-cow. So the chest rolls forwards, shoulders back, tailbone up towards the sky and the belly drawn in. And on exhale, we'll draw the belly in a little more. And let ourselves round up. Inhaling forward. So it's a nice warm day today, middle of the afternoon. So hopefully the body has already kind of warmed up a little bit through the course of the day. So you should be able to feel a nice slide and glide, smooth movements. If not, just making a mental note of that as to how you approach any other positions that we move into that might be a little tight for you. This is a really nice way of discovering how your spine feels. Again, we'll come into a neutral spine, and I'm going to take the knees as wide apart as I can, heels together, allow myself to sit down into child's pose. So I'm going to take the hands forwards first, far enough so that the elbows are from the ground. See how that feels in the hips, groins, thighs, and the shoulders. And try to breathe the ribs wide, so feeling like I'm opening out the chest and the shoulders sideways a little bit. And lift up enough to allow myself to take my right hand under and through and over to the left side. Then dropping the shoulder and ear to the floor. I'm going to walk the left hand out a little bit more. So allow myself to sink into the twist. Concentrate on nice, smooth, long breaths. Then we'll walk that top hand again. Lift up that halfway point, so the body's more sort of 45 degrees. And then we'll take the hand over the other side. And ease that down. And then just noticing whether that feels about the same in terms of the stretch in the shoulders, or whether it feels a little tighter. And if it does, where? Is it under the shoulder blade? Is it out to the edge of the shoulder itself, the deltoid? Maybe you're feeling it in the arms a little bit. One side of the body, maybe the neck. Just comparing one side of the body to the other. Really sort of a reference, exploring how we feel before we commit to moving a little quicker. We'll walk that top hand in, bring ourselves back into that 45-degree position. We'll lift up onto all fours, slowly bring the shoulders over the wrists, knees back underneath, tuck toes under, and we'll take that into a down dog. We're going to scissor the right leg towards the sky, try and keep the hips and shoulders square. We'll draw the knee in towards the chest, keeping in down dog. Take another breath here, and on the exhale, lunge through that right leg to the front of the mat. I'm going to press out through the back heel, be up on the fingertips, lift the chest a little bit, and then we'll bring the hands back to the floor, slide ourselves back into that down dog. We'll take the left leg high as we can, so you feel a squeeze in the butt. Draw the knee into the chest, holding down dog. Take a breath in, and then exhale it through. Oops. T-shirt's moving around. Into the lunge. We'll take a little breath from there. And step back into down dog. And you come forwards into a plank and bring both knees down to the floor underneath the hips. And spin the right foot off to the side, so pivoting on that right knee, bringing the right hand a little more in line to the right knee. Left leg lengthens out, knee to the, foot flat to the floor. We're taking a side plank. Now actually trying to press down through the bent knee and the foot at the back of the mat, and lift the body up a little bit out of the hips and press down through the floor. The only thing that really isn't working hard in terms of pushing anywhere is the top hand, and that's lifting up. So bring the hands back down. Bring myself into the second side. So left side, left hand, right leg goes back. Turn very gently, open up the body, send the hips forwards a little bit, head to the side. Start to activate, pressing down, lifting up. Trying to keep the head sort of equidistant between the shoulders, so not dropping down. And I'll bring the hands back down to the floor. Come into regular plank. So both legs back and the hips as high as the shoulders. And then we're just going to take that to a side plank. So I'm going to go to the left hand lift. It's quite important to have your shoulder over the bottom wrist rather than it being forwards. It's otherwise mechanically weaker. And we'll bring ourselves back into the plank, cross over to the other side. So we're on the side of one foot, pressing down with the opposite foot. So there's plenty of lift in the legs, they're active, helping to lift those hips. And we'll bring the hands back down to the floor. Let ourselves walk into a down dog. And we're going to take the hands towards the toes. So I'm just going to slowly walk that in. To a forward fold. And allow my ribs and thighs to get nice and close. And slowly bring the hands onto the hips, soften the knees a little to lift up. And I'm going to shake it out a little bit as we walk up to the front of the mat. I'm going to bring the feet together now, so the toes touch, little gap for the heels so the ankle bones are apart. Hands into the heart, soften the knees, squeeze the thighs together as you sit back gently down. So to start with, really just taking the knees over the toes, so we're not coming down super deep. Just making sure that the ankle bones aren't pressing together. We're drawing the abdominals in a little bit as well to help support, so the back's not doing all of the work. And then we'll sit back a little deeper. And we'll sit back a little deeper from that. Now, on the inhale, we're going to take the hands forwards. Remember what we did when we were standing. We were trying to draw the ribs down and hips together. So you're doing the same thing. You'll feel the tailbone sort of start to project downwards a little more than out towards the back of the mat. And bring the hands in towards the heart. I'm going to hinge forwards. Allow myself to open the legs out slowly. Come into the forward fold. It's a little stronger because the feet are together. And then I'll step back into my down dog. And forwards into tabletop. Now sit back down into child's pose. Narrow kneed version. Head to the floor, elbows to the floor. Inhale with a round spine. Lift myself back into that tabletop position. Roll the shoulders back, tuck the toes under. Hips and heels, hips and heels lift up towards the back of the mat. So down dog. Come forwards into the plank. Then let the knees come down. Untuck the toes. Exhale back into that child's pose. Inhale, press into the shins, draw the belly in. Roll through the spine, shoulders back. And we lift into that down dog. Come forwards. One more time. Knees to the floor. Sitting back. Inhale up. The toes, we go back into that down dog. Draw the right knee towards the chest. Bring the foot through. Going to take the back foot as far back as I can. So slide that out a little more. Bring the back knee down to the floor. Going to let the hands come towards me. So they come off the floor. Start to use my core body to lift up. And then take the hands out wide. Remember what we said, ribs and hips zip together, palms touch, hands come to the floor, and we bring ourselves gently back down to the ground. Tuck the toe at the back, slide it back into our down dog, lift to our fullest position, and then draw left knee in, breath in, exhale the foot through for the lunge, walk the back leg out, drop the knee, untuck the toes, slide the hands towards you as you lift. Inhale it up. Hands come to the floor. And step back into that down dog. Walk the hands again towards the toes. Into a forward fold. So hopefully the legs are a little warmed up. Hands on the hips. Softenings as we lift. Shake it out. As we walk into the front of the mat. Feet are parallel, a distance apart. Hands into the heart. And we'll exhale forwards. Drawing the belly in. Then we'll lift onto the fingertips halfway. Lengthen the chest forward so the back of the legs straighten out and press down. And fold in. Nice and tight. We'll take the left foot back and drop the heel in for warrior two. Going to bring the hands onto the front thigh to lift up and open up to the side mat. bring the hands in towards the heart. We're going to rotate slowly towards the front of the mat, lifting the back heel, hands come to the floor. Step back into a plank. We're going to come into half plank. Let the knees come to the floor, untuck the toes, press the shins down, belly in as I lift up into my up dog. Roll over the feet or step them if you need to bring the hips back up into down dog. Draw the left knee in towards the chest. Bring that through for the lunge. And then step forwards into the forward fold. Hands under the hips, lift up. Hands come into the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Fingertips to the left. Fold it back in. Right leg back this time. Dropping the heel in. Hands onto the front side to assist with the lift. Warrior two. Hands into the heart. Rotate. Bring up the back leg. Hands to the floor. Step it back into our down dog. Coming forwards again. Half plank. Push forwards on the toes. Knees to the ground. Shoulders drawn back. Belly in. And let ourselves come back into that down dog. Draw the right knee into the chest. Bring that through into the lunge. Step into the front of the mat. Hands on the hips. And we'll lift. Hands into the heart. Exhaling to the floor. Take the left foot back as far as you can into lunge. Let the back knee come down on top toes. Bring the hands alongside the body. Arms float out wide. Ribs down. Arms touch. To the floor. Back into our down dog. Forwards into our plank. Half plank. Knees to the floor. Up dog. Down dog. And left knee into the chest. Through for the lunge. And step it forwards. Hands under the hips. Lift. Second side. Hands to heart. Exhale down. Right foot back. Knee to the floor. Tuck the toes. Hands come out to the side and up. Down to the floor. Into our down dog. Into plank. Half plank. Knees to the ground. Up dog. Down dog. And right knee into the chest. Flip through. And step it into the front of the mat. Folding down. Hands to the hips. And we lift up. Hands to the heart. Close your eyes. So hopefully a little bit of cardiovascular work creeping in. Getting the heart working a little bit. Maybe not so much the lungs. I'm panting a little bit because I'm trying to talk and breathe, and they don't work very well together. Just letting some of the heat out, letting the heart rest, and getting a nice feeling of firm foundation of the floor underneath. The feet kind of spread, becoming more rooted into the ground, more connected. Okay, going to close the, open the eyes, they're already closed. Exhale forwards. Down to the floor. Just going to step back into my down dog as a transition. And then knees to the ground. And we're going to change into the mat really. Just sit the bottom down and swing the feet out towards the front end of the mat. Keep the knees high, let the hands come behind. Now we need enough room out in front for legs and enough room behind for arms. So I'm sitting towards the front end of my mat. And just going to slowly wriggle out the spine into the ground. Make sure my clothing is not going to tangle up or bed into the spine in a way that's uncomfortable. And I'll take my arms out wide to start with, palms facing up. I'm going to draw my lower back into the ground a little bit. So again, that rib hip connection zipping up. I'll draw one knee at a time into the chest to keep my lower back attached to the floor. Squeeze the thighs together, point the toes away, and then lengthen the legs up towards the sky, so directly above the hips. We're going to bring the hands above the chest from the side, so hopefully the spine stays connected to the ground, and we're just going to alternate the legs and arms. So as you exhale, right arm, left leg, and think about them lengthening out at the same time as trying to keep your lower back connected to the ground and those abdominal muscles switched on. So we want to work at a speed that allows us to do all of that, which is generally slower rather than fast and bouncing around. And try and make sure that the head stays in a neutral position. And by that, I mean, if you notice that your chin starts to want to wander towards the other end of the mat, and that's because you're sort of lifting off of the ground a little bit. You want to just sort of readjust the neck, keep it nice and long, move it through. Try and think of extending out through the limbs, not just the ones that are moving, but also the ones that are static as well. So one more for each side, I think. And then we come back up, we'll let the knees come in towards the body. I'm going to wrap the hands around the shins, draw the chin towards the chest, and have a little bit of a hug. Rocking a little bit on the spine, feels nice on my back. If it does on yours, great. Or you can just stay in the position. I'm going to release down to the ground again, feet in close to the bottom so the knees are high. So I'm going to take the hands this time, palms face down alongside the body. So my hands, I've got quite long arms. So my hands are sort of going to the, a little bit past my bottom. So I'm not sitting on the hands, they're sort of just sort of tucked into the kind of edges of the buttocks, if that makes any sense. So there's virtually no room between the ribs and my arms. Now I'm going to draw the shoulders, middle back, lower back, down to the floor, keep the belly in. Make sure I've got a nice long neck again. One knee at a time comes in. Now I'm going to lengthen the legs back up towards the sky. Now this time we're going to take the legs 45 degrees, keeping the legs straight and strong. Now normally, as your toes kind of just disappear out of your peripheral vision, that's the time that you bring them back. Come back slowly so that you can feel when your legs feel like they're over the top of the hips, rather than just yanking them back quickly. Then do it all very slowly so you can keep the spine connected to the floor, the abdominals switched on, and lengthening out through the hip flexors a little bit. So a feeling of the top of the legs and the bottom of the legs, so the front and the back, lengthening away, even when you're drawing the back in. few more. The last lift. And let the knees come down again towards the chest. I'm going to take the hug again. And this time from the hug, I'm just going to roll gently over to my right side. So, releasing the legs and then hands into the floor to lift back up. So it looks like I intended to do that. I'm going to take my block finally and place that underneath my bottom. Allow myself to lengthen the legs out in front for Dandasana. So I bring the feet together, the feet flex back. Distance between the big toe and little toe is the same to me. I'm trying to lengthen the thighs forwards, pressing the sitting bones down and flattening out the front of the chest as well. So I feel like I'm drawing my shoulders out wide. And then I'm going to release a little bit of tension out of the legs and bring my left heel into the groin, knee out to the side, square the hips for Janu Shirshasana. Heel into the floor, keep the foot flexed, a little bend in the knee as much as you need. Lengthen up through the spine, hinge from the hips. Now when you come down as low as you think you're going to get, allow yourself to slide your hands forwards as if you're reaching out towards something that's in front of you. Take a couple of breaths here. You really want to press that heel into the ground and then bring the hands gently down to the floor and let the hands slide back in towards you. Easy on the shoulders. And press the fingers into the floor and lift back up. We'll do the same to the opposite side. So leg goes out, right heel comes in, square in the hips. We'll take a little thigh adjustment, flex of the foot, lift of the knee. Take the body up, hinge forwards, drawing the belly in, trying to get that lengthening to come from the hip. You think you've got as far as you can. Allow yourself to take the hands forwards and continue to stretch through to the front of the mat. Now bring the hands to the floor. Just slide the hands in towards you so the shoulders feel more relaxed. And we'll press the fingers into the floor again to lift up. Now, as the legs go back out, I sit up nice and tall, and I'm going to take that left foot under and out towards the right hip. So the knee points forwards. I'm going to bring the right foot in so the knee is high. Tilt the pelvis forwards a little bit, and I'm going to turn to my left. So this is the open side of the legs. And I'm going to brace the right arm and that front leg towards each other and try to feel the rear shoulder moving towards the center line. So I'm not really pressing on the hand. It's more of a sort of kind of, see if I can open the chest up a little bit. And we'll release from there. Take the legs back out, cross over to the opposite side. Tilt the pelvis forwards that a little bit to help lift up. Looking over the rear shoulder is optional. You can have the chin just following where the heart points, but if you're looking down at the floor, you're actually overstretching the back of your neck and the upper back. So you want to keep the head lifting up. Tailbone's pressing down. Belly drawn in a little bit. And we're ready. I'm going to come down to the floor. So I'm going to move the block out towards the front of the mat now. Use my way down. And feet are in close to the bottom still, knees are high on the center line of the toes. Then let the left leg lift up towards the sky and turn the toes to the outside edge for figure 4. Bring and bend into the knee, the ankle bone to the outside of the thigh. Going to let the left knee drift forwards, trying to keep the hips stable. And then lift up onto the tippy toes of the right foot. And use the strength of the right leg to draw both legs in towards me. Draw the belly in a little bit. Check you've got a nice long flat neck. Take your left hand through the center, right hand around the outside of the right thigh. Try to interlace the fingers either on the shin or the back of the leg. And we're going to use a little bit of effort in the arms to help draw the legs in. So we're not taking it through the right leg working so hard. Just going to use the arms a little bit and at the same time send the tailbone away. So shoulders down rather than up. And then I can release from there. Turn that leg up towards the sky again, get a little shake out. Bring the foot down to the floor, take the opposite leg up. Turn the toes out. Before the opposite side. So we always make sure we keep that foot towards the bent knee, so flexing it in. Once we've opened up the groin a little bit, tiptoe the left leg, draw the left knee in, the right hand through the center, left hand around the outside left thigh. A little bit of effort through the shoulders and the arms, down and back. Release from there. Shrink that leg out again. Bring the foot down. I'm going to take the feet now to hip distance apart, toes in a little, hands down by the side of the body, palms facing down, roll the shoulders underneath. Going to come into bridge. So I'm going to draw the lower back into the floor, start to tuck the tailbone away. As I exhale, I'm going to let the hips lift up, press down through the shoulders and arms, and draw the knees, thighs, and buttocks towards the front of the mat. So if you're feeling this just in your hamstrings or just in your thighs, your buttocks really aren't activating. So imagine you've almost got a pair of hands underneath you and they're pushing your buttocks away from you. That's a feeling of muscular direction you want to try and move to, and that will start taking some of the stress out of the hamstring and the thigh. Also stops your buttocks clenching up underneath you. It's easier on the muscles in the buttocks and that congestion of nerves around the sacrum. So as we exhale, roll back down again. Letting the spine curve gently and naturally down to the floor. We come down with control. Take another breath. And then we'll start to lift again. So tailbone tucks away and we'll lift up. The chest move a little closer towards the chin. And spine back down again. I'm going to draw the feet back onto the center line and bring my right knee in towards my chest. Take the hands around the back of the thigh, interlace the hands, and then extend that leg towards the sky with the foot flexed. Once it's as high as it's going to go, I'll slide the left heel out and flex that foot as well, so toes point towards the sky. Nice long neck. Draw the lower back a little down to the floor, so abdominal switch on. And we'll release. Let the feet draw in and down. And when you're ready, we'll take the opposite side. Slowly extend out. From the leg away. And release everything back in. And then we're ready for Shavasana. So taking the arms gently out to the side, you can scoot the block in if you wish to and place it underneath the head, or just go for flat to the floor version. Let the toes hang out, eyes closed, let the lips. Let everything switch off just for a couple of minutes. Feel your breath moving through your body. Noticing any little tingles of energy moving around. Slowly start to stretch those fingers and toes. Let the wrist and ankles join in a little bit. Breathe a little deeper. Enjoy that stretch, wherever that feels like needs to be. Start with your instincts. We'll slide the feet back in along the mat. Ourselves into our final hug. It's a nice, gentle, easy one. Rock it around on the spine, some nice hip circles, if that feels good. And then we'll roll gently onto our right side, taking the breath in, and on the exhale, returning to the floor, press down, lift up, back into a nice seated posture. Hands to the heart. Take a breath in as we close our eyes. And on the exhale, letting the chin drop down to the floor to seal our practice. On the inhale, lifting back up. Opening the eyes. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me. Hope to see you again soon.